So earlier this week, I decided that it was time to attempt the Hoenn E4 on my second account. But before I did that, I had to train my Pokemon up to a high enough level to be prepared for it. And I used a strategy I made in my last video about how to level up fast in Pokemon Planet. I definitely recommend checking it out if you haven't done so already. So eventually I had the team ready to go, with the roster being Golem, Seaking, Magneton, Magnezone, Gyarados, and Breloom. But before any of you guys tried copying this team, let me just say that this one didn't work out. I tried switching some Pokemon around to see if I could somehow beat it, but to no avail, I was never able to beat the champion. So this time, I went back to the old reliable Blissey instead of the Breloom. Now, the reason why I chose Blissey is because it's gonna be useful in the Sinnoh E4, so why not start using one in Hoenn? Now, you can always hunt for a Chansey, but buying one from the GM shouldn't be that bad because it's fairly cheap. I will say that I suggest getting a Chansey with a plus defense nature since that will help a lot. The only expensive part is getting a Toxic TM for Blissey, and an Egg Move ticket for a Seismic Toss, but Seismic Toss is optional. So let me go over the rest of this team. Golem is going to be a Stealth Rock setter, so you want one with the Sturdy ability. Seaking is going to need the ability called Lightning Rod and Poison Jab, and you'll see why later on. Magneton is going to have Discharge, Thunder Wave, Flash, and Magnet Bomb with the Sturdy ability. The Magnezone is going to have the same exact moveset, but you want it to be as high of a level as possible to deal the most damage. Gyarados is going to have Waterfall, Ice Fang, Crunch, and Dragon Dance. Although I heard that Outrage Gyarados is better in Hoenn, it is purely optional. For the Blissey, it's going to be Bold or anything plus defense nature, EV trained in HP and defense. I think doing this will make a huge difference and make survivability easier. The moveset for the Blissey is going to be Toxic, Minimize, Soft Boiled, and Seismic Toss, but here I'm using Pound. Sidney is the first trainer up, and I start off with Golem so I can easily set up some Stealth Rocks. Once the Golem dies, I then switch to Seaking. And remember when I said that Seaking has that Lightning Rod ability? That ability allows Seaking to not take a single damage from Houndoom because Houndoom will always use Thunderfang. This allows Seaking to easily take down Houndoom by itself. Once the Seaking dies, I then switch to Magneton. Magneton is going to use Thunder Wave to paralyze the Drapion. Then once the Magneton dies, I switch to my Magnezone. I use Flash on Drapion just to lower his accuracy. But after that, I use Discharge and Magnet Bomb to deal as much damage to Drapion as I can without killing him. And then once the Magnezone dies, I then switch to Gyarados and set up Dragon Dance as much as I can and sweep the rest of his team. The next trainer up is going to be Phoebe, and just like the last one, set up some Stealth Rocks with Golem. Once Golem dies, switch to Magneton, Thunder Wave it, Flash it, switch to Magnezone, deal as much damage as you can to the Spiritomb. Once that dies, switch to Gyarados, and easy sweep. Just make sure you pay attention if your move gets disabled after you kill the Gengar. The next one up is going to be Glacia, and let me just say she is the most annoying trainer out of them all, because I lost many times against her. But I finally found out a way to beat her, and here's how you do it. So just like last time, I start with Golem and set up some Stealth Rocks. Once the Golem dies, I switch to Gyarados instead of Magneton. With Gyarados, all you have to do is Dragon Dance once and Waterfall should kill the Weavile. When she switches into Cloyster, swap your Gyarados to your Magnezone. Magnezone is not going to take that much damage from the Cloyster, and it should be able to one-shot it with a single Discharge. Against the Walrein, you want to swap your Magnezone into your Gyarados. Walrein is going to use Earthquake, but Gyarados is immune to that. But after that, you want to swap your Gyarados to your Blissey. And now you can use Minimize and Toxic Stall the Walrein. For the Mamoswine, swap your Blissey to your Magnezone. Let the Magnezone die so you can safely switch to Gyarados. Now you can Dragon Dance once and Waterfall should kill the Mamoswine. Against Lapras, swap out your Gyarados with your Seaking. And since Lapras is going to use Thunderbolt, Seaking should be able to kill the Lapras with Poison Jab. And finally against the Abomasnow, let the Seaking die. Then you could switch to Magneton and use Flash to lower its accuracy, and finally use Blissey to Toxic Stall it to death. Drake was the 4th Elite Four member, and he was fairly easy. I did the same thing by starting with Golem and setting up Stealth Rocks. Then I used Magneton and Magnezone to try to kill the Kingdra. Once they switched into Goodra, I swapped out to my Gyarados, and Gyarados only needed 2 Dragon Dances to one-shot it with Ice Fang. After that, it was all relying on Ice Fang to not miss. Now for the champion Wallace, it did involve a little bit of luck, but it's still doable. So like always, start with Golem and set up Stealth Rocks. Once the Golem dies, switch to Seeking. Kyogre's gonna always use Thunder on Seeking, and Seeking should be able to kill it with Poison Jab. Once the Seeking dies, switch out to your Magneton. You want to use Discharge with Magneton even though I didn't do it in the clip. And after that, you want to swap out to your Magnezone and finish it off with another Discharge. And now when you're up against the Kingdra, you want to swap to your Blissey, and Blissey should be able to Toxic Stall it to death. Now, in the best case scenario, Blissey should be able to Toxic Stall the Blastoise with no problems, but it got a lucky hit with Dragon Tail, forcing me to switch out to Gyarados. So what I ended up having to do was swap back and forth between Gyarados and Blissey to stall out the toxic damage. When I was up against a Feraligatr, I tried to deal as much damage as I can with the Blissey. Once Blissey died, I then switched to Gyarados, used Dragon Dance once, and killed Feraligatr with Crunch. This gave me enough of an attack boost to one-shot the Tentacruel with Crunch, giving me the victory. And yeah, the Hoenn E4 was a lot harder than I remembered it being, but I think the Seeking deserves the most recognition for being able to take down the Kyogre by itself.